All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Bear Sheath Farm with your host, Levi Kahn. I apologize for being a little bit late here. We had a computer glitch. I'm making sure everything's working here. Hold on. Okay, we got that. It's a no fault situation. Fortunately, when the computer glitch happened, um, or sadly, I lost everything. The good thing is, welcome and shalom to Wilfred Witzke. The good thing is, my memory serves me pretty well, and I was able to get a lot of it back up. The thing is, folks, maybe it was just as well, and I say that now sincerely. Now that I've calmed down, I was pretty livid, to put it nicely. But welcome and shalom to Craig Hayden. Welcome, brother. There's so much info. It's going to be a long enough live stream anyway.
We can bring another day later.
Yeah, it'd be more than one day. I do this, God willing, of course. If they don't shut me down, I'm to the point I don't care. Now there are some things I won't go too much out of my way to do. But here's the thing: I read, and let me explain this. Stay with me. I read all of the Talmud that we have access to, all 63 tractates. Now, the reason why I say it that way is because there are secret parts that people who claim to be Christians and that, and even if they're Torah keepers, they don't have access to. There are people like me who have a chronological background, Levitical. Just call me a Jew boy, who cares? According to my biological line anyway, not my adopted. And they're angry at me, and they won't give me access. I can get it when I look hard enough, but look, I've told you people before that this put me at risk when I power read through a lot of that, and I put a lot of it out of my mind. It almost made me a racist against my own Jewish counterparts. Now, I'm not taking Christian theology off the hook. Those people are just as wicked. You think on a practical level. In Deuteronomy, Moshe did not tell the Israelites that, hey, if you do all this, and when you do, you'll be taken in by a godly nation and taught right. He didn't say that. No, you'll be scattered all over. They'll be fierce. They'll be fast. You won't understand their language. You'll be serving gods of wood and stone. In other words, they'll be taken in by other godless people because they willingly went with the contract, the covenant. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 8. Leviticus chapter 24, verses 3 and 7. And I've read that in my readings. And I really, I want to apologize for that too. I won't be doing the reading tonight because of this. But I need to get it out. I feel I need to, even though I didn't want to. A part of me never really did. It's pretty wicked. I'll be using some codes here, code wording, off and on. Also, too, when I lost everything due to a computer glitch, it just really took the wind out of my sails. I had to hop and pop to get it back. But I'm not going to sit here and cry and whine about it. But here's the thing, folks. When we compare scriptures, the Torah and other parts of the Bible, to the Talmud, specifically the Babylonian Talmud. And the only reason why I can say I've read bits and pieces of the Jewish Talmud is because significant portions that my Jewish counterparts and ancestors thought that were significant, were important, they integrated with the Babylonian. So that being said, I'm not going to concentrate on that specific subject. It doesn't really matter. What I will tell you is the Babylonian Talmud is the of the two, not the Jewish Talmud. Also, too, they consider this well above the scriptures themselves. And simply put, folks, talk a note, and I've done this before. The authority to change or negate biblical law. That is a very simple definition. They can make a whole new Torah, supposedly, including today's rabbis, such as Toby Singer, Michael Skobach, what's his name? I'm brain farting, but he's actually way above Toby Singer. He's out of his league, and he's actually very dangerous because he gives Yeshua compliments a lot more than Tobia does. At least Tobia is just, well, Tobia will lie to you, and he has. But he's at least straight up about being against Yeshua, Jesus. Boteach, Shmuley Boteach, that's his name. His last name, Boteach, is spelled like Boteach. Be very wary of him. Now, I could go on about rabbis all day. And this has been going on for a long time when you get into Rabbi Rashi, the late Rambam, Maimonides, etc. And as time goes on, I'm getting to like, and see, this is word coding. I'm getting to like these people less and less and less, and they ought to know better by now. I've used slight examples before. And this includes me, folks. I've been a sinner. I've done stupid things. I've done it knowingly, somehow, not fully understanding, but defiantly. So I'm not just, trying to say I'm this high up and mighty Levitical messianic. I'm not. I am a messianic. I evidently, from my chronology, I have Levitical history, a chronology. On my father's side, to make that clear. That's another thing about Talmud. They go by the mother and the placenta. I go by the scriptures. If you want to do genealogy, I go by my father's. Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Frankly, folks, on a practical level, it takes two to tango. Okay? Welcome and shalom to Akatai, Sister Carolyn Gannon. Glad you're here. But that, either way, okay? So my mother and my father committed an act, and here I am. That's the way it is. So anyway, I took a lot of notes, like I said, even, I'm old school, thank God. I mean, we know how to read and write and take notes. I even write cursive. Imagine that. Before it became the public pool system. So, there was a rabbi back in during the Reagan-Bush era, 1981 through 1989, before the Bush Quayle administration took over, Ronald Reagan. And yes, he did get some fondness or, some affection, I guess, and some notice, some attention to the Orthodox Jews in that. Now, the late Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. Now, what's so significant about him, I think from what I understand, they probably corresponded by letters or something back then. And I don't know if they did phone calls, they might have, but they actually never met. Okay. In the Chabad organization, CHABAD makes it look like they do because they have some kind of signature, supposedly from President Reagan. But you know what it really is? A stamp. They never met, literally. When I say the stamp, does that sound familiar with Biden and them with today's auto pen, maybe? So they never literally, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson never literally met President Reagan. Rabbi Avraham Shem Tov represented Rabbi Schneerson to Reagan. The Chabad organization claimed that President Reagan personally congratulated Schneerson on his birthday, but he did not. A secretary of Reagan created basically and formulated a quick telegram that was not signed by Reagan. It was a stamp. And here's the funny thing, so a stamp of Reagan's signature. It's nowadays today's version of AutoPen. The secretary forgot to send it. The representative for Schneerson, Rabbi Shem Tov, He had to seek it out just to get it. The Chabad organization has lied to us. I've known this for quite a while, but one time I thought they met. Well, let's get right to this. I've got so many windows. Hold on. I'll start with this. Did Rabbi, and this backs up what I wrote. Look, there may be some things that are very difficult to prove. And I've got some proof, some I don't. Either you believe me or you don't. I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, don't just pull stuff. I'm doing this for quite some time. But, test the spirits. 1 John 4:1, right? Yeah. Yes. Rabbi Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, literally met with Ronald Reagan at the White House. Now, this is a lie, okay? He actually didn't go there, ladies and gentlemen. So you got to be careful with this kind of stuff. Bing. Let me get rid of this. You need to know what you're looking at. That's the purpose of this whole ordeal. Because Rabbi Schneerson never did literally meet President Reagan. President Reagan didn't even sign it. Now, there's some things where he did give a tribute to Schneerson after he died. Let me find that video. Okay, here we go. President Reagan pays tribute. And I do actually remember this in my teens, in the 80s. Here we go. Go ahead and watch this. Here we be.
Nice to see you. Well, nice to see you.
No, wait, man. Picture. Now, Marianne, spot this also. Yes. I think we better do it over here on the side.
And then maybe I can have this gentleman step in, right in there. That can be fine. Maybe you can all come up this way. That's great.
Even closer.
Yeah, even closer.
Things probably go this way a little bit.
Yeah. If they want to come right behind the president, that would be, yeah, that's better. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Mr. President, you'll have to come around behind him now to sign it since we're squeezing in so close. All right, we'll bring the stool to the top.
Well, the ethical teachings of the Lubavitcher Rebbe have as much relevance today as they ever have. The values on which the movement is based, wisdom and reverence, are not just desirable, they're necessary to the very survival of civilization. Now we shall proclaim this day Education Day. Sign, and I think, all right. Just use this pen here. And please give my warmest regards to the Thank you very much.
The Rebbe sends his regards to you, Mr. President, and he expresses his wishes, as he always did, that you should be able to carry out the extraordinary role that the Almighty has assigned to you, as you have until now, with health and happiness, together with the First Lady, for many years to come. In whatever position you'll be filling, we all look forward to you to continue the great work, historical work that you have started on behalf of education, specifically by returning the traditional values which have been the bedrock of civilization ever since beginning. And these are the 7 no-white laws contained and given by Moses, as it is reflected here in this scroll.
Okay. I want to make this clear. I don't normally, with you people, stop things in the middle here. The Talmud is way different from what Moshe ever did. So this guy's blatantly lying, talking to Reagan. Now, I will give Reagan some slack. He was losing it by the end. Okay? He wasn't as bad as Biden was. When he got as bad as Biden, he had been out of office for a good number of years because he made a joke in 1995. He had been out for about 6 years by then. And he, how Reagan cracked his jokes. The good thing about Alzheimer is you get to meet new people every day. But he was starting to lose it. That was a strong rumor, and I'm guessing it was pretty true back then. Okay. Yes, Carolyn, 1955, welcome and shalom to you. Glad you made it here. I'll get this going and finish this part.
Thank you very much on behalf of all our colleagues, of the entire Jewish people, especially with the approach of the Passover holiday throughout the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
God bless you, Mr. President. Have a safe trip back home.
Well, thank you all. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you. God bless you. You should just continue to succeed.
Celebrating 86th birthday and 96th.
Thank you. That's good.
God bless you.
Okay.
Everpure's data management platform unifies our data.
Okay. Now, before I let me get rid of this stuff because I got to put in the links too, at least to the videos. Now I don't know how strict they are on that anymore. They used to get me, warn me in years past. Look, let me get another Google thing here and put that in. And I'll read it, and then I'll put on another video. Okay. Now, the as I told you earlier, the representative for Rabbi Schneer was Rabbi or Rav Avraham Shem Tov. He was the representative and emissary for Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem M. Schneerson, to President Ronald Reagan. As chairman of American Friends of Lubavitch, Rabbi Shem Tov regularly led Chabad delegations to the White House and even was appointed by Reagan to the National Advisory Council on Adult Education. So, and you can read on more. All you have to do, and this is one thing I had to retype that we had lost, the Jewish representative for Rabbi Schneerson to President Reagan. It'll give you the info. No problemo. Let me hold on. Yeah. Let's get rid of that. Yeah. We'll just do it like this, I suppose. Give me a second, folks. I have so many. So much of this. Well, maybe it is gone. I don't know. I don't want to accidentally click myself out. Then I'll have to start all over. Anyway. Carolyn's fairly new. This Carolyn, I think, is fairly new. She was here the other day, if I remember correctly. Weren't you, Carolyn? Yeah, I know. There's two. Carolyn Gannon, she's been with us for a long time. Now, that being said, folks, Let me tell you something about Jewish concepts, the 7 Noahide laws, and I'll put this up because you got to be aware. You need to be aware of this. And I'll read at least some of it to you, and you can look it up on your own after that. Yep, here we are. The Noah and are 7 laws considered by rabbinic tradition as the minimal moral duties required by the Bible on all men. Well, that's a lie right there. A lot of it is opposite, just blatantly the opposite, folks. It's really quite morbid. And this is a lie coming up too. While Jews are obligated to observe the whole Torah, 613 commandments, and that's deceptive. I'll explain that in a minute. Every non-Jew is considered a son of the covenant of Noah, and he who accepts the obligations is considered a righteous person who guaranteed a place in the world to come. Okay? The 7 Noahide laws as traditionally enumerated are 1, do not deny God. 2, do not blaspheme God. 3, do not murder. 4, do not engage in incestuous, adulterous, or homosexual relationships. 5, do not steal. 6, do not eat a live animal. 7, establish courts/legal system to ensure law obedience. Now, you can read the rest on your own if you so choose. All right. Jewish concepts, the 7 Noahide laws is in the Kabbalah. I recommend it only for education. I'm doing this whole thing for education, period. So YouTube knows. But that being said, folks, let me get rid of this. Okay. Please be patient with me. I already read this part. That's the part I wanted to get rid of. Okay, too. Now, this next one is a 4-minute and 42-second 4-minute and 42-second video. Noahide law and Christianity - Rabbi Yitzchak Bradowitz. I will put this on. Hold on, where was that? Yeah, right here, I think. Yep. All right, let's get this moving.
Righteous Noahide. A Christian be a righteous Noahide, right? Non-Jews have to keep the 7 commandments of Noah. They don't have to be Jewish, and we don't try to even encourage conversion, but they do have to keep the 7 mitzvahs of Noah.
Okay, I want to make this clear too. If you look all over the Old Testament, Israel was supposed to be a light unto the world, a lamp under their feet. They were supposed to be a promotion of the true one God. And he's saying the opposite right or anything. And that is what Orthodox rabbis are like. In fact, if you're going to try and convert to that before they get you initiated in, you better prove it to them. Because they use that Jewish tradition too, where they ask you 3 times, do you really want to do this? They don't encourage it. So they're oppositional to the scriptures right there. Let's continue.
And one of those mitzvos is not to worship idolatry, not to worship avodah zarah, and to believe in one God. So the obvious question is, can I be a can a goy be a righteous Gentile if they are a professing Christian? So this is a huge machlokas. It is the shita of the Rambam that Christianity, of course, this is pre-Reformation, so he was talking about probably not even Catholicism. He was probably talking about Coptic Church in Egypt and the like. But it is the shita of the Rambam that those who believe in Jesus, those who believe in Yeshu HaNotzri are ovdei avodah zarah, they are idolaters. Number one, because they have a trinity of the notion of dividing God into multiple parts. And number two, because they assign a physical body to the divinity, which is also a form of avodah zarah. The Rambam, on the other hand, did maintain that Islam is not avodah zarah. It's a monotheistic religion. He actually hated Islam. He hated Muslims because he said they oppressed Jews more than anyone else ever did. And he called Muhammad a Meshuggah. But at least in terms of avodah zarah, he gave Islam a pass. on that it's not avodah zarah, and al pi halacha, that is why it is mutter for a Jew to go into a mosque. Maras Hamachpelah in Hebron a mosque is built over Maras Hamachpelah, and when you go to daven at the kever of Avraham Avinu or whatever, you are davening in a mosque, and that is permitted. You wouldn't be allowed to go into a church because that's a makam of avodah zarah. As a whole machlokas, what if it is no longer used as a church? It's only a museum. That's a question. But certainly you cannot go into an active church. So according to the Rambam, it's very, very clear that a Christian is not keeping the 7 mitzvahs of Noach. On the other hand, we have the Shita of Rabbeinu Tam, Rashi's grandson, who lived in Catholic France. And he made a very interesting distinction. He said that a profession of Christianity would be idolatry for a Jew. A Jew's definition of how to serve God would render Christianity pagan. But it is not a violation of the Noahide law, meaning not that it's true. It's not that, it's true for a guy and not for a Jew. I mean, it's either false or true. But a guy who professes Christianity can still be considered a monotheist and in compliance with the 7 commandments of Noach. This is also the view of the Meiri, one of the Rishonim. So as a result, you can tell the non-Jewish friends that there are views that would consider this to be a fulfillment of the Noachide law. There are other views that argue, and therefore speak to your Noachide rabbi about which way to go. So this is a huge, huge machlokas that has many, many ramifications. For example, according to the halacha, Israel doesn't follow this halacha, but there is a halacha that a non-Jew who has not accepted the Noachide laws is not allowed to live in Eretz Yisrael. So if you took the position like the Rambam, that Christianity is Obed Avodah Zarah, then Christians would not be allowed to live in the land of Israel.
Here you go.
Obviously, if we permit Christians living here, we're following the Shita of Rabbeinu Tam. Now, I do have to say that there is a machlokas achronim if that is Rabbeinu Tam Shita, meaning the normal way Rabbeinu Tam is presented is Christianity is not avodah zarah for a non-Jew, right? That's how Rabbeinu Tam is normally paraphrased. In fact, the native Yehuda has a whole other interpretation of Rabbeinu Tam, in which Rabbeinu Tam was also moded, it's avodah zarah, but a Jew does not have a prohibition of causing a Christian to swear by Yashka. And he goes through the idea of what is a Jew's responsibility not to cause an oath to idolatry. So, according to Native Yehuda, you'd have no hope, meaning the Christian is indeed an Obed Avodah Zarah. But as I say, most understand Rabbeinu Tam the conventional way.
All right. Let's keep this moving. Let me get this. Now, this is written by an article that I'll be putting up so you can see it, and I'll read. I'm not sure how much of it I'll read yet. She's done a lot of research. Yana Danoon, she's the wife of Stephen Ben Danoon, and I do give her a lot of credit for this. They used to be Zionists a long time ago, and I think it's been 20 years since they left. Now, Stephen, he knows the Hebrew, Paleo-Hebrew, and the Koine Greek fluently. He knows how to speak, read, and write it. Yana's a very good researcher. She's, I think, originally from Russia. And I don't know how long they've been married or whatever. But anyway, let's get moving on with this. Noahide laws for dummies, the 4 W's. What are they and where are they from? Who benefits and why? We absolutely must refuse them. When I first stumbled upon the term Noahide laws, I didn't think much of it. It sounded ancient, something tucked away in the dusty pages of religious history. But the deeper I dug, the stranger it became. Suddenly, I began hearing the same phrase echoed by rabbis, politicians, and even international organizations. Universal ethics, they called it, a moral code for all mankind. Now, you just heard that last rabbi. Yes, according to Rambam and them, maybe not Rabbi Rashi's grandson, but according to them, Ramban and so on, we Yeshua believers are supposed to be put to death. Anyway, throughout my research, one question kept haunting me. Why would a set of laws I never learned about in school or church suddenly appear in speeches, proclamations, and even American legislation? Exposing the Noahide laws and defending the faith as a reader support. Okay, never mind that. People are confused, and I don't blame them. What are the Noahide laws? Where do they come from? Why am I, along with a growing number of others, sounding the alarm? Maybe you've never heard of them. Maybe you think, why worry? After all, when you first read these 7 rules, don't murder, don't steal, they sound perfectly fine. But as with most things that appear harmless at first glance, the truth hides beneath the surface. This article will strip away the mystique and give you the basics, the kind that don't make it into official brochures or polite rabbinic lectures. Because while Jewish scholars are teaching Gentiles their version of universal ethics, they often leave out what those ethics really imply. What are the Noahide laws? The 7 Noahide laws are a set of moral principles that Judaic tradition says were given by God to Noah after the flood, making them binding on all humanity. They are often described as the universal laws of civilization or a basic moral code meant for the non-Jews. According to the rabbinic writings, these laws are: do not worship idols, do not curse God as in blaspheme him, do not commit murder, do not commit adultery or sexual immorality. And I want to get into that number 4 here in a little bit. Do not steal, do not eat flesh torn from a living animal, establish courts of justice. And that court of justice, we're talking worldwide, folks, a new global or world order. That would be Noahide laws mixed in with Sharia law. On the surface, Deb, turn that down. On the surface, the list seems perfectly reasonable, a kind of ancient moral code similar to the 10 Commandments that everyone is familiar with. Many rabbis and Jewish outreach organizations describe them as a foundation for world peace, saying that if all nations follow these rules, global harmony would naturally follow. Although, hold on. Yeah, I can hear it all the way out here. Like you're beside me. Okay, continuing on. Although you will often hear of 7 Noahide laws, the truth is that they contain many sub-laws. Now, to get into the sub-laws a little bit, I think there's over 100 of them. I know Toby Singer says that. Anyway, different Jewish sources lift different numbers. One rabbinic commentary mentions 30 sub-laws. Another expands them to 66, and some later interpretations suggest that there may be over 100 individual prohibitions and requirements hidden within the original 7. This means that the framework is far more detailed than the simple list often presented to the public. The term Noahide comes from B'nai Noah, meaning sons of Noah. Because all people are considered descendants of Noah, the laws are viewed as the moral obligations of every non-Jew on earth. In Jewish theology, a Gentile who observes these 7 laws is called a righteous among the nations and is said to have share in the world to come. Where do they come from? The term Noahide laws does not appear anywhere in the Bible. This concept originates entirely within the Talmud, a vast collection of rabbinic writings compiled centuries after the time of Christ. The Talmud is not a single book, but an enormous compilation of volumes that record the oral traditions and legal interpretations of the ancient Pharisees. The same sect often mentioned in the New Testament. These oral teachings were eventually written down and expanded upon by later rabbis between the 3rd and 6th centuries. Abdominal. Over time, this evolving body of law became known as the Oral Torah, and it forms the foundation of rabbinic Judaism today. Oh, I'm sweating here. It's hot and humid. Okay, within the Talmud, particularly in the tractate Sanhedrin 56a-59a. The rabbis outlined a moral code they said was given to Noah after the flood. The Babylonian Talmud tractate Sanhedrin 56a says, 7 precepts were the sons of Noah commanded to establish courts of justice and refrain from blasphemy, adultery, murder, stealing, and eating the flesh of a living animal. Oh, man, it's so ridiculous. That should just be a dar. Anyway, these are the 7 basic commandments that rabbis say apply to all humanity. In this framework, Jews are bound by the 613 commandments given to Moses, while the rest of the world is bound by the 7 given to Noah. Okay, before I continue on to the next paragraph, evidently, and I've never personally counted it, I just kind of go with it. In the Torah, there's 613 instructions, commandments, call them what you will. However, and a lot of Christians say that, hey, you hold to the law, the Torah, you're obligated all 613. No, you're not. Some of those instructions or laws apply to children. Some are to boys, some are to girls, some are to adults, some are to adult women, adult men, some are to city dwellers, some are to country folk like farmers, ranchers, whatever. Some were to specific tribes, and each tribe, the 12 tribes that I have read about in my Bible readings a number of times on YouTube over the years. To give you an example, ladies and gentlemen, if those men, the Israelites, when they were out in the desert, wandering in the desert, and when they went into Canaan and cleaned it up and converted it temporarily, they were not supposed to go by the purification laws of the women. If they did that, that was an abomination. Do you understand? So if they were obligated not to do that, why would I be obligated to keep that one too? That's those commandments are in the 613, ladies and gentlemen. So let's not get that screwed up. I just wanted to make that clear because that was one of the things I wanted to go over. So let that know to your next time if you have a Christian greasy gracie sloppy agape buddy that says, hey, you have to keep all 613, point that out to him or her. I don't wear tampons. I don't have that issue every month. I never have. And I'm not about to pretend, despite the woke crowd may want to make me grasp onto that. I'm not about to start now. All right, let's continue. Centuries later, the medieval scholar Maimonides, parentheses, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, known as Rambam, organized these teachings into a formal system in his Mishnah Torah Laws of Kings, chapters 8 through 10. He wrote that Gentiles who follow these 7 laws are considered righteous among the nations and would have a share in the world to come. Maimonides' codification ensured that the Noahide Code became a permanent feature of Jewish legal thought. Although these ideas remained largely theological, for centuries they began to reemerge in the modern era, especially through the work of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the 7th and final leader of the Chabad Lubavitch movement. Schneerson believed that spreading awareness of the Noahide laws would help prepare the world for an era of global peace and redemption, a messianic vision rooted in Jewish eschatology. Under his leadership, Chabad emissaries began promoting the 7 laws internationally, reaching out to political and religious leaders and even the United Nations. In the United States, this campaign culminated in Public Law 102-14, signed by President George Herbert Walker Bush in 1991. Now, he actually gave his signature, folks. All right, just so you know that. I remember that too, which praised the ethical values and principles derived from the 7 Noahide laws and recognized Rabbi Schneerson's role in promoting them. Since then, successive presidents of both parties have renewed the proclamation each year. Who benefits? When a moral code is promoted globally, it's worth asking who benefits from it, who interprets it, who teaches it, who gains authority by defining what it means. In the case of the Noahide laws, the answer is complex. On the surface, rabbis describe them as a universal moral foundation, rules that unite humanity under shared ethics. But when you look closer, it becomes clear that the system grants interpretive power exclusively to Jewish authorities who oversee what the law means and how they should be observed. According to Talmudic tradition, only those who's trained in the oral law, the Jewish rabbis, are qualified to interpret the Noahide commandments. For non-Jews, this means that they are invited to live by the Noahide code. They're not allowed to define its boundaries or interpret it. In practice, this creates a hierarchical model of spirituality. Jews serve as the custodians of divine wisdom, while Gentiles occupy a moral category beneath them, bound by a simpler set of rules. At a global level, movements like Chabad Lubavitch benefit by extending their reach beyond the Jewish world. Promoting the 7 laws allows them to position themselves as moral leaders for all nations, building influence and political capital. Their message of universal ethics appeals to governments and civic groups who want interfaith cooperation with theological conflict. There is also a spiritual benefit for the Jews in Jewish mystical thought. Okay, now we're getting into mystical thought. Kabbalah comes to my mind right there, folks. It particularly in the writings of Rabbi Schneerson, spreading the Noahide code is part of preparing the world for a messianic age. In that vision, humanity aligns under one divine moral order with Israel as its spiritual center. From a Christian or secular perspective, however, this raises difficult questions. Who decides what is moral under this system? What happens when those definitions conflict with freedom or conscience of faith? Why are the interpreters of a religious code from ancient Pharisaic tradition being invited into modern political and educational systems? While the movement's advocates speak of peace and unity, the structure itself centralizes authority in the hands of Jewish religious elites. A dynamic history has taught us to approach with caution. Understanding who benefits from the revival of Noahide teaching is essential before confronting the final and most urgent question: why should the rest of the world refuse this system? All right, why we absolutely must refuse them. Within its own framework, the Noahide laws contain uncertainties that should trouble and any free society. Jewish legal sources disagree not only on how sub-laws exist, 30, 66, or more than 100, but also on what constitutes idolatry for Gentiles. For example, rabbinic commentaries classify the Christian worship of Jesus as idolatrous and warn Gentiles against celebrating Christian holidays such as Christmas, Easter, and a New Year's Eve, and even a New Year's Eve. Well, I actually am against that stuff, but that's a different subject. I don't do Christmas and that. So anyway, what rabbis don't tell you is that the Noahide laws are not merely a set of universal ethics. This is a legal code, ladies and gentlemen, and I think it reads that down here. They form the basis of a complete legal code that includes a punitive system for those who disobey. Within Talmudic law, these commandments are not symbolic, they are judicial. According to the Sanhedrin 57a-b, a non-Jew found guilty of breaking any of the 7 could be executed by decapitation, judged by only one witness and one judge without the requirement of a prior warning. Well, that goes against the Torah right there, literally, folks. There needs to be 2 witnesses. If somebody did even commit a crime and they don't have a second witness, that man or woman gets off the hook. Okay, I think I read that recently in my readings. Anyway, I've read it so much it's hard to. Anyway, Maimonides later confirmed that in his Mishnah Torah, Hilkot Melchim 9, 14-10-3, declaring that all the transgressions of a non-Jew are liable for decapitation by the sword. He also defined the worship of Jesus as idolatry, placing Christianity outside the Noahide framework. In other words, the Noahide code was never just a moral teaching. It was and it is a legal framework with real penalties, modern advocates present it as a pathway to peace, yet a sanctioned foundation was built on obedience enforced by fear. These passages are not yet enforced today, but they illustrate the uncompromising and hierarchical logic on which the system was built. It was and remains a religious order and distinguishes between insiders and outsiders, a two-tier system where Judaism rules and the rest of the world submits. This is why blind acceptance of the Noahide framework is dangerous. It invites one religious authority to divine morality for the entire world, a principle incompatible with both democratic freedom and the gospel itself. As followers of Christ, we are warned not to be deceived by systems that promise peace while quietly redrawing the boundaries of truth. The Apostle Paul wrote, "For Satan himself transforms into an angel of light." That comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. The danger rarely comes from open evil, but from imitation of righteousness, moral systems that sound holy while replacing the simplicity of the gospel with human hierarchy. Rejecting the Noahide laws is not an act of hostility. It is an act of discernment. Christians and all people of conscience can affirm morality without surrendering moral authority to a structure born of the Talmudic tradition. So yes, the 7 laws sound innocent. The danger is never just in what is said, but is what is left unsaid. If the Noahide laws were to be enforced, and in the parentheses is, and there is a secret plan to do just that, it would not be only Christians who face danger, but all humanity, because people of every faith, and even those with none at all. Each of the 7 laws carries the sentence of decapitation for its violation, a chilling prospect I will explore further as I examine the sub-laws and the deeply troubling vision they represent. Okay, Yana Denoon did an excellent job. Okay, you get the sources where she got a lot of this from. Let me go back up. There's one thing I wanted to look at and discuss. Number 4. Yeah. Okay. I think that's, yeah. Do not commit adultery or sexual immorality. Let me look at my notes here. Let me actually get rid of this. Finally, I can look at the chat again. Yeah, he did. He went after them very hard. The Prushim there, Craig. Let's see. I think to get on her writing deal, was it Substack or something? If you're willing to pay, it was $7 a month, and that does sound pretty cheap. I'm not doing it. There's only so much I can keep track of anyway. But let me get on to something else. Here's the reason why I went over number 4. And I'm going to go over scripture after I compare it with the Talmud, because I've written a lot of this down. I guess I can put this up here so you can see me. See my ugly mug again. Okay. During war in Jewish law, as in the Talmud, ladies and gentlemen, the concept of a Yafat Toar, Yafat Toar, and that's Hebrew for beautiful captive. When you capture a really hot looking babe, to put it in American slang, allows a Jewish soldier to have sexual relations with a captured Gentile woman taken in war, even if she is married. Well, what did I write? I believe I wrote, and I'll put this up. I'll open up another window temporarily. Numbers 31. I'm not using the NIV. Screw that. I will go to the King James. I said around. Hold on a second, folks. Give me 1 minute. Take that. Here, Deb, and take this. Okay, there you go. Okay, let me Okay. Now you go to Numbers, which is Bamidbar in Hebrew, You go to chapter 31. I think you people can see this. No, you can't. I haven't done that yet. Sorry about that. Let's get the Bible Gateway here. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, I kind of need this. Give me a second, folks. It is humid. It is hot. The gamma rays are going awry. Oh. Thank you very much. Anyway, Numbers chapter 31. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go down to verse 14, shall we? Okay, I'm going to read it right, starting here. And Moses was wroth with the officers of the host, with the captains over thousands and captains over hundreds, which came from the battle. And Moses said unto them, Have ye saved all the women alive? Behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Baalim, to commit trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor, and there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. Look, I'm not saying there aren't platonic marriages. I'm sure they exist. But it's a very rare phenomenon, folks. Anyway, but all the women, have they not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. Okay? Pretty simple, I think.
If they have never been married yet.
Well, if basically they're a betula or an alma. Okay? An alma can be a woman who is lying with a man, but usually, especially in the Greek and even Hebraic tradition perspective, alma most of the time means literal virgin. Betula, there's no debating it. But yet, according to the Talmud, because they have the authority over to God, they can overrule him. You capture a married woman who's done the big ugly how many times, even though she's still a hot looking babe. You have the right to do that according to these guys. If you're a Jew, by the way, if you're Jewish. So stick with me, folks. Anyway, let's continue. The Talmud, the Sanhedrin 64a, he who gives his seed to Molech incurs no punishment. Huh. Oh, really? Is that so?
Wow.
Huh. Oh, here it is.
Interesting.
I will go ahead and get this up. People can follow fairly easy. Here we go. Just get on Google. Okay. Now, let's go to Leviticus chapter 20. Let's go to specifically verse 2. I think we can use some Bible Hub here. Again, okay, chapter 20 of verse 2 and Vayikra, Leviticus. Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whomsoever he be of the children of Israel or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel. See, again, the ones that were adopted in, same consequences, good or bad. Sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. Let's not stop there. Let's go back to Exodus, I think. I'm a good writer and stuff like that, but when I'm taking notes, I kind of have to, I can be a slob like anybody else with the pen. I need to improve on that.
Yeah, you didn't go to bed until 8 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, I know. Exodus 12:49. Come on. Okay. And you see, that's what I'm getting to. It didn't matter who it was. If they were in the tribes of Israel back then, whether they were born into it or whether they were, adopted into it, because they made the cut. One law shall be to him that is homeborn or unto the stranger that sojourneth among you.
Uh-huh.
You also have Leviticus chapter 24, verse 22. Ye shall have one manner of law. Get out of there. Okay. Ye shall have one manner of law as well for the stranger as for one of your own country, for I am the Lord your God. I am Yod He Vav He, your El. Now I could go a lot more into that too. I used to have I had a 3-part series on that years ago, and it was boring, but it was very informative. Okay. Now this is an accurate quote that I'm going into next. From Abrida, an external teaching discussed in the Babylonian Talmud. This is from the tractate 101a Sanhedrin. Okay, 101a. And we need to go to Deuteronomy. What was that? Geez, my sloppy note taking. Let's go to Deuteronomy 18:10, shall we? Yeah, it's coming up for me. Yeah.
Big Bear.
Oh, yeah, this is back to Molech. Let me get that on for you. I mean, whereas the Talmud gives the Jew permission to do this, the actual Torah does not. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. Look, fine, we can go to let's go to one of the New American Standard Bibles. I don't care, 95 or 1977, but there shall not be found among you anyone who makes his son or his daughter pass through the fire, one who uses divination, one who practices witchcraft, or one who interprets omens, or a sorcerer. Pretty cut and dry. Keep in mind, though, as far as, the Talmud has a lot more slack for that.
Mysticism.
In the Berita and you can get in, if you want to get into ancient traditions, add secrets to the Torah and that, get into the Zohar and Kabbalah. Don't do it. It's not worth your time. If anything, it could screw people up. It kind of got me a little loopy there for a while. I'll talk about that in a little while too. I do remember some of that.
Yeah.
You also have Leviticus chapter 18:21. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Okay. Well, let's go past that. Let's go to Jeremiah the prophet. Because he had to confront this. Just, a lot of you know this. Okay, I'm probably singing to the choir. All right. And they have built the high places of Topheth, which is in the valley of the sons of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I did not command. Oops, I got the Brain Literal Bible. All that is, that's a decent wording of it. But let's go to the King James. And they have built the high places of Tophet, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I command them not, neither came it into my heart. Now let's look at that. I don't care what my Jewish counterparts say, and I know they hate me. Well, a lot of Christians hate me too. I take that badge of honor. Anyway, I am more than qualified, and so are a lot of you people. I have a lot of people, even you ones that are maybe newly following me. I watch your and I look at your comments. You're not rookies here. We are qualified to look at this stuff. We are qualified to make judgment calls here. Okay. We do not need permission. We just don't need it. Now, if you want to look further, folks, about what happened, go back to Melech Shaul, as in King Saul. Read 1 Samuel chapter 28 when he went and saw a medium, a witch, call her what you will. What did Samuel, or a representation of Samuel? I'm undecided on that. I tend to think it might have been Samuel. They were probably sleeping before they all came out of the grave after Yeshua died, and that's another subject. But whether it was literally Shemuel, the prophet, or not, it was obligated that being was obligated to tell King Saul the truth. You're going to get killed. Your sons are going to be killed in action or whatever in war. The Philistines, blah blah blah, and that's exactly what happened. So if you read, I'm not going to read all that. I'm referring you to 1 Samuel chapter 28. Okay. Now, according to the Talmud, oh, my sucky writing here. Oh, I got to knock this off. Hold on. I better type this up and see if I can get it right, because I didn't memorize this stuff either back when I read it. I read it, and I do. I should write like this. I write my journals. I should be doing this with my notes. I apologize for that. Okay. A woman who has had sex, intercourse, basically the whole deal of the big ugly, and was not married, they are still permitted. Okay. Where was I? They can still marry a priest, and they're talking about Levitical priest in this case. Okay, it's only a mere wound, ladies and gentlemen. That's what they say. Well, okay. Let's go to Leviticus 18. What we got here? Oh, come on. Okay, here we go. If they've had we're getting into bestiality here, folks. I'm not sure how to code this. But then again, I remember 10, 11, 12 years ago when I was living in Akron, Ohio, too, some woman on the news, she married her dog, and another woman married herself. And this is nothing new under the sun. Go to Leviticus chapter 18, verse 23. Nor shall you mate with any animal to defile yourself with it, nor shall any woman stand before an animal to mate with it. It is perversion. Go to Leviticus 20, verse 15. Verse 15. And if a man lie with the beast, he shall surely be put to death, and he shall slay the beast. But yet that woman has leeway. Is that right? So they say. Go back to Exodus 22:19. Whosoever lieth with a beast shall surely be put to death. How you doing, buddy? Goku, huh? Okay, that's anybody. It's not saying just a man or only a woman. Okay, just so you know, it's anybody, any human being. Okay, that's enough. Go lie down. And go to Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 21.
Check your speaker.
Why? Can they hear me?
Can't hear you.
What? Hold on. Okay. Can you hear me now? I don't know if you can hear me or not. How about now? You should be able to hear me now. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. I'm starting to hear myself ricochet. Let me take care of that. Okay. Let me know again, Deb, if something goes wrong. Deuteronomy 27, verse 21. Cursed be he that lieth Cursed be he that lieth with any manner of beast, and all people shall say, Amen. The Talmud is very, to put it nicely, oppositional, and we'll leave it at that. But to think that a woman can do that and then marry should even marry any kind of Levitical priest back then. That being said, I don't understand. And you can apply today. You're not using eisegesis, okay? It's one thing if somebody did all that stuff, put all that stuff down, they did all those sins and they repented. They get Jesus Christ in their life and they repent. And later down the road, that man becomes a pastor. Okay, I can probably, hopefully he's a Sabbath keeper. Hopefully he is not a pagan celebration, observer of pagan celebrations such as Christmas. I mean, things come slowly over time. I've never done that. Just I want people to know that right now. But I've been quite with a lot of women, stuff like that. I've been drunk before. Over 34 or something like that, 34 years ago, I was a drug dealer. And I don't see why I can't be. I'm not a pastor, by the way. I don't qualify for that because I don't have a family that's in check and all that. But so I'm not pastoring anybody. I'm just giving a lesson, and I'm giving you the Hebraic perspective and opposing it right now with the Jewish perspective because there's a lot of differences there. But you had to reboot, Deb? Okay, I got you. That being said, folks, so you look at the Sanhedrin 78a. If 10 men smote a man with 10 staves and he died, they are exempt from punishment. Now they're talking there specifically about a Gentile, a goy, a ger, especially if it's ger. Okay, supposedly. Well, let's look at the scriptures there, shall we? Let's go to Leviticus 24:17. Okay. Yeah, somebody who's non-Jewish. And he that killeth any man shall surely be put to death. Go to Numbers 35:16. And if you smite him with an instrument of iron so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 19. Let's start with verse 11, because we'll do, I think, probably 11 through 13. But if any man hate his neighbor, and he lie in wait for him, and rise up against him, and smite him mortally that he die, and fleeth into one of the cities. See, they had refuge cities back then. Then the elders of his city shall send and fetch him thence, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die. Come on. Okay. Thine eye shall not pity him, but thou shalt put away the guilt of innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with thee. Oh, man, imagine if we could do that today. All right. So, folks, I could get into more, and again, I don't know if I should. I'll mention it briefly, but with men with younger females and older females with younger males, and in the Talmud, look, I've heard the excuses I don't know how many times, folks. Oh, they're just discussions, they're thoughts. Okay, for starters, why would you think of something like that in the first place? It's like looking at an effigy with Bohemian Grove, an effigy of an infant. Let's give those perverted little weasels a little slack and say, okay, it's never been the real deal, only an effigy. Why are you even thinking that? Why do you have an effigy? Put all your problems on paper, scrumple it up, and throw it in the fire. By all means, write all your issues. Pray to God. Throw it in the fire. Throw that piece of paper. I have no problem with that. But with an effigy of an infant, I'm just saying, So that being said, I just... And that's the other thing, too. The Talmud can continually be also, just to let you know, be expounded on by modern-day Pharisees. Some of them I mentioned already. Shmuley Boteach, Toby Singer, Michael Skoback, and many, many more. But let me find a video here. I've got some more stuff I can play here. Did I already play that? Yes, I did. Let's play. Okay, no, this comes, and I'll put his link down below, and we're not going to play the whole thing. It's it's 52 minutes and 4 seconds long. Lance the Christian did an excellent job. I do recommend that you watch this video in full and give him a thumbs up, ladies and gentlemen. Do it by all means. Just so you know. But we're going to play some of it. Hold on. Yep. All right, here we be. Let's do this.
This video might be the... I'm right now at 99% in Israel. I could run for prime minister, so maybe after I do this, I'll go to Israel, run for prime minister. Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one.
this video might be the most important video that you're ever going to see. And I truly mean that. This may be the most important video you're ever going to watch. In the near future, we are all in danger of being put to death. Now, I did a video the other day, and I'm very thankful for how the video took off. We ended up with like 7-point-something thousand views. 7,000 views, and it's still going up now slowly. 7,000 views on this video I did. The first International Congress meeting coming in November 2026. And I tell you, I am so happy and glad that all of those thousands of people got to watch that video. Because I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for all of you. I want you to know the truth, and I want you to understand what time we are living in. The end is coming. The end is near. When you see these crazy Christian preachers telling you, you know, the end is near, the end is coming, Jesus is coming, they're right. I'm here to tell you humbly and boldly, they're right. He's coming. They want the Sanhedrin, the Jewish Sanhedrin, writ this letter to Trump. It says Trump has been elected for a heavenly mission. That heavenly mission, guys, is to pass the 7 Noahide laws. They want Donald Trump to establish a Noahide law court under the Jewish Sanhedrin. We were told in Daniel that this Antichrist, this man of sin, this beast that comes from the sea, he will seek to change times and laws. And the saints, all believers in Jesus, will be given into his hand for a time and times and the dividing of time, which is 3.5 years. We're going to be given into his hand. We're going to be persecuted for Jesus Christ in the testimony, our testimony in Christ. We're going to be persecuted for the testimony of Jesus Christ and for the word of God. We're going to be persecuted under the 7 Noahide laws, and we're going to be beheaded by the sword. That's the truth. That's what Jesus was warning us about. That's what John was warning us about. He was warning us about the Pharisees. He was warning us about the Jewish Sanhedrin, the wolves in sheep's clothing, the self-righteous that are going to go under this 7 Noahide law. Idolatry on the 7 Noahide law is believing in anything other than one universal God. They deny Jesus Christ as God. They deny Jesus. We're going to see it.
I'm speeding it up.
Watch this video to the end, and you're going to understand what's about to happen.
The Jews run the show in the world, not because they want, because that's what God wants. Even though we're a very small community compared to America, 300 million Americans, 5 million Jews. It's no comparison. But the Jews are everywhere. Politics, all the assistants of Trump, Jews, all the assistants of Sleepy Joe, Jews, Obama, Jews, everyone around there, conservative Jews, Chabadnik, this, convert. It's all somehow. Same thing was in Spain, same thing was in...
Ladies and gentlemen, let us take a moment to pause and unite our hearts in prayer. Almighty God, creator of the heaven and earth, we also pray for our friend and ally Israel, that she should eradicate her enemies, bless President Donald J. Trump. May we move forward together seeking to build a future that reflects the will of God and his values based on the 7 Noahide laws that will unite us all together.
Based on the 7 Noahide laws.
And a prayer in Hebrew, Mishaber Chavaseinu, Avram Yitzchak.
The Sanhedrin also called on the new president to acknowledge and uphold the 7 Noahide laws. This here is from gotquestions.com, a familiar Christian site that many people use for research. And it says something very important, which I'm going to show you proof of towards the latter of this film. It says the Talmud, again, the oral written traditions of the rabbis, calls for the capital punishment for Gentiles who violate the Noahide laws. And this has led some to debate as to whether or not Christians who worship Jesus Christ are guilty of violating the first Noahide law and therefore deserving of the death penalty. In order to understand the Noahide laws better, we first have to learn who the Grand High Kabbalist of the 20th century is and how powerful he was. Menahem Mendel Schneerson, 1902 to 1994, was a leader in the Chabad Lubavitch movement. He was the Grand High Kabbalist with the title Lubavitcher Rebbe. He was a Russian-American Orthodox rabbi and the most recent Rebbe of the Lubavitch Hasidic dynasty. He is considered one of the most influential Kabbalist leaders of the 20th century. Rebbe Schneerson was so powerful and influential that in 1978, the U.S. Congress asked President Jimmy Carter to designate Schneerson's birthday as the National Education Day in the United States. It has been since renamed as Education and Sharing Day. But under the cover of this National Education and Sharing Day, President George Bush Sr. also slipped in Public Law 102-14. Which establishes the Kabbalist 7 Noahide laws as the supreme law of the land. Every single president of the United States since has re-signed this bill and nationally honors Rebbe Schneerson's birthday as National Education and Sharing Day. U.S. Congressman William Dennemeyer, who served from 1979 to 1992, warned Christians and publicly stated, "In very basic terms, the law forbids the worship of Jesus Christ and the mention of his name under penalty of death by beheading." He warned there would soon come a day when the Noahide laws will be enforced, along with their penalties. Under the Affordable Care Act, death by guillotine is an actual inclusion for the use of capital punishment. Just as the Noahide laws were classified under an education bill, death by beheading by guillotine is classified under Medical Code ICD-9 E978 under legal execution.
And the Rebbe pleaded, if only the United Nations will go back to the basics and empower their nation to adopt the 7 Noahide laws, then this world would be a very different world.
Death by firing squad, electrocution, or poison gas. Under a new rule filed by the Trump administration, these methods can now be used to carry out executions for federal death sentences in addition to lethal injection.
Very much in favor of the death penalty. We have to bring back the death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price. Death penalty. Bring it forth. Again, the words death penalty, death penalty, death penalty, death penalty. From no penalty to death penalty. The death penalty. The death penalty. It's called the death penalty, okay?
Two ultra-Orthodox members of Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition have introduced a bill that would punish believers for sharing the gospel of Jesus with prison time. United Torah Judaism Knesset members Moshe Gafni and Yaakov Asher introduced legislation last week making it illegal to share in conversation or produce content online, in print, or by mail. Their explanation of the bill emphasizes a warning to stop Christians in particular.
You know what Israel need today? They need Yeshua. They need Yeshua.
But if you bring Jesus, you bring the wrong guy. Don't bring us Jesus. But if you bring Jesus, you bring the wrong guy. Don't bring us Jesus.
The name Jesus is really Yeshua. He wrote showed the power of positive thinking, which is great.
But have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
Christians, get out and vote just this time.
You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian.
I'm a Christian.
I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again.
In Kabbalah, visiting grave sites is a common mystical practice, particularly at the graves of tzaddikim, righteous individuals. This is Donald Trump in October of 2024, visiting the gravesite of Grand High Kabbalist Rebbe Schneerson. You can also see Trump's Kabbalah handlers next to him, who seem to be guiding him in this ritual. Kabbalah teaches that tzaddikim, righteous individuals, continue to shield the world even after their death, their prayers and blessings still effective. Visiting their grave sites allows one to tap into this merit and benefit from their intercession, holiness, and merit of the righteous one's grave to amplify one's own prayers to their God, Ein Sof.
So I did my own research and dig in. I took a couple of screenshots. I've watched loads of videos. I've done my own research. And anyone who breaks these 7 Noahide laws, anyone, not just a Jew, Gentiles as well, who they call Goy. The Gentiles are anyone who's not Jewish. So this global false peace under Donald Trump is going to change a law that's going to kill us. We're told in the Bible he does this. We're told what happens in Daniel, the little boastful horn, the Antichrist, what he does. We're told in 2 Thessalonians when he sits in the temple of God, declares himself as God, and then the second beast sets up an image to him and everyone's worshipping it. And then we're told in Revelation, the book of Revelation, chapter 13, Donald Trump is fulfilling all of it as the beast of Revelation, the Antichrist, the son of perdition. Okay? He's the highest level Kabbalist in Kabbalah, which is the serpent's religion that these Jews are under, with the black box on the head. Guys, I did my own research, and if you break these 7 Noahide laws, any of them, is worthy by capital punishment, which is decapitation, beheading. And they usually use, where it says sword, so it could be either the sword from the Islamic nations like Saudi Arabia, the sword might be why our borders are wide open to the Islamic nations in the West. Maybe we're going to be beheaded by them, or they're going to set up.
Donald Trump was invited by the Jewish Sanhedrin to an international divine court in Israel. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct. The nascent Sanhedrin invited Donald Trump to support the creation of an international divine court based on the 7 Noahide laws.
Ah, yes, the 7 Noahide laws. We find this in the Jewish Talmud, correct?
Yes, the 7 Noahide laws are derived from Jewish tradition and are found in the Talmud.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The consequences for breaking one of these Noahide laws would be capital punishment. Is that correct?
In ancient interpretations found in the Talmud, breaking the Noahide laws is described as warranting capital punishment. However, these interpretations are not reflective of modern practices.
But according to Sanhedrin 57A, that capital punishment is decapitation, correct?
Yes. In Talmud Sanhedrin 57A, decapitation is mentioned as a form of capital punishment for breaking the Noahide laws.
Now, the first Noahide law would be, thou shalt not commit idolatry, correct?
Yes, the prohibition of idolatry is one of the 7 Noahide laws.
Now, under Jewish...
The guy from the UN, the European Union, all the Islamic nations, all of the Western nations, because he's about to change the times and laws, and we, the saints, believers in Christ, are going to be given into his hand. This is why Christians are not going to have to vote again in America. Okay? They're going to kill us under a new law, under idolatry. There is a hidden sect of Jews that are evil. Okay? We know that there are those who claim they are Jews and are not. They do lie. They are the synagogue of Satan. It's funny how the great multitude of all people courts they're about to establish. And they wanted them to be killed under blasphemy, guys. It's happening again. It is going to happen to us. But we do not need to fear. We don't have the spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. But I'm making these videos on this channel to get you all ready. I'm preparing you all for what's coming. Be ready for persecution and be ready to lose your head, because these laws are going to take our heads. Okay, they're going to cut our heads off when we say we believe in Jesus Christ, because that's idolatry and that's blasphemy in these Noahide laws. They believe in one universal God, and they don't believe that that's Jesus Christ. So you can see the predicament we're in. You can see the problem that we all have. We need to get ready. Jesus is coming, but first, Son of Perdition is going to be revealed. Sit in the temple of God, showing himself as God. Remember, he is going to be prime minister in Israel after the second term.
I'm right now at 99% in Israel. I could run for prime minister. So maybe after I do this, I'll go to Israel, run for prime minister.
Christians won't have to vote again in America, because America, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her plagues. Mystery Babylon, come out of her, my people. All the nations and the ships and the sailors, all the kings are going to stand afar off, watching her burning. He is going to Israel to be the prime minister, and he's going to sit in the third temple that's going to be rebuilt. That's what the scripture's telling us in 2 Thessalonians, in Daniel, in Revelation 13. He's going to be prime minister. They got 99% vote to be prime minister. He's their coming false Messiah. It says in John, I have come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. Talking to the Jews. If another shall come in his own name, him you shall receive, which is the Antichrist. It's happening. They're receiving him. It's Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump, guys. Christians are not going to have to vote again.
Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again.
Because you're going to be beheaded under the 7 Noahide laws, guys. But do not fear. We have overcome through Jesus Christ our Lord.
I'm right now at 99% in Israel. I could run for prime minister. So maybe after I do this, I'll go to Israel, run for prime minister.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one.
let this finish out, and I'll make, like I said, I will be sure to go ahead and get think up. Let me get something else on. I think I did this one. I guess I don't have any more. I'm mixing it up with what I had done all last night. Look, folks, I can do this for a lot longer, give you more scriptures to debunk this demonically driven nonsense. And at the end, it really doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but, and if you don't feel comfortable with it, I'll tell you what, I don't blame you. I have, when I do a lot of this stuff, it gets me in a really sour mood. It's like very heavy on me in a spiritual sort of way. Oh, here's one more. Yeah, what Ben Shapiro. And I actually like a lot of what Ben Shapiro has to say. He's an Orthodox Jew, but the way he makes, he doesn't even have to try that hard to make people look stupid, you know, like those college kids. I have to wonder what they're teaching and how drummed down they are. I mean, when I was in college, we, you know, tech college and then a community / tribal college, we had standards, for crying out loud. Hold on. Let me find it again. Where was that? I'll find it. Oh, here we are. The Noahide laws is here. Okay.
The sub-laws.
There we are. And, you know, but Ben, I don't know what to think of Ben Shapiro when it comes to religion. I don't know. I know he was raised that way. He lives by it. I mean, he does. And you kind of have to give credence to that. But even in like a university, when he's giving a speech or asked a question, he'll just say, no, I'm just going to assume that everybody in this room knows the New Testament better than I do. Well, so what? It's probably really not the case. He's a pretty intelligent man. He's brilliant, actually. But anyway, let's go ahead and play this. I don't want to be going off about him all day.
News.com says, Ben Shapiro, Trump is Noah made to save this generation. November 12, 2024. Ben Shapiro, the conservative political commentator and media host, was ecstatic when Donald Trump won the election, but as an Orthodox Jew, Shapiro's reaction to the victory began praising God and then turned to biblical, comparing Trump to Noah. He said, "What makes Donald Trump different is that he as a human was built for this moment," Shapiro began. Now, there have been a lot of biblical comparison for President Trump. Many people point out that King David had some pretty serious personal flaws, but he was beloved by God. But I have a biblical comparison, he says.
Many people point out that King David had some pretty serious personal flaws, but he was beloved of God. He also happened to write Psalms. But I have a biblical comparison I think is better. Noah. So in the book of Genesis, the flood is coming, and God finds a man who can build an ark. A man who is, as God puts it in the Bible, Ish Tzadik Tamim Haya Bedorotav. So again, a little Hebrew lingo for you there. That means a righteous man, complete in his generation, like full in his generation. In this generation, he was built for his time. It was a bad generation, and he was a complete man, a man in full for his time. That's Donald Trump. Yes, Donald Trump has tons of flaws, so did Noah. Check out the chapters that happened right after the flood. It's a little weird, but when the flood is coming, you need a man who bucks the strictures of a corrupt generation and builds the boat. And Donald Trump builds the boat. America is not only going to survive the storms, America is going to rebuild once the waters recede. And the waters are now, thank you, God, beginning to recede. That's Donald Trump.
From the depths of the suffering, the Jewish people have built a mighty nation. And the Star of David waves proudly above this cherished land. As long as we refuse to be silent in the face of evil, As long as we refuse to dim the light of truth in the midst of darkness, as long as we refuse to become bystanders to barbarity, then we know that goodness, peace, and justice will ultimately prevail.
The goals that Number 1, Noah is a type of Jesus Christ. The Jews, like Ben Shapiro, have missed the point of the Old Testament and just connected to Trump and whoever they want to connect it with. The whole story of Noah is about Jesus Christ. Just as Noah is a physical savior of his generation, Jesus the Word became flesh to save all generations. Number 2, Noah and Jesus points all men to the ark. Noah points people to an ark. Jesus points people to the Ark of the Covenant, where the Ten Commandments is located. Noah went into the ark. Jesus went into the most holy place in the heavenly sanctuary, where the Ark of the Covenant is. Paul describes Jesus as our high priest in the most holy place, Hebrews 8 and 9. Number 3, Noah's Ark has one door and 3 floors. Amidst the coming great flood, the only way to salvation is one great door. Jesus is the door. John chapter 10 verse 9. And with this entrance, with this door, comes 3 floors. God never destroys a civilization without a warning. You can find Christ's warning in Revelation 14, 6 to 11, the 3 angels' message.
Okay.
2 Peter 3 verse 6 to 7. And that by me.
Okay. I will give you the links to these things. And please do check them out. Check out this one that I just showed. This is Truth and Bible Prophecy. The one I did before, I believe, was Lance the Christian. I got a whole bunch of them I'm going to have to put links up to. Yeah, Lance the Christian. We have How to Root, Torah and Judaism. Here's another thing, too, just out of humor. I mean, I got this right here. Well, it doesn't matter. Let me get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of some of these windows. It's there's a lot of the stuff I read to you already. Here's what you need to really be aware of. I mean, of those of you who want to study it more in depth, if you think you can handle it. When I get to doing it, I was talking about that heavy spiritual weight on me. I have to take a day off, or at least take a few hours off. And I find something else to do, whether it's reading my Bible or just watching a stupid, cheesy movie, which I kind of like. I do like those. Another break is, doing the Bible readings here live and so on. And I see I lost a few people here. I think they were getting tired. It's 10:25 p.m. Eastern time, I guess. So anyway, that being said, folks, this is a lot to take in. And believe it or not, we barely even scratched the surface. You have the, oh, come on. I'll do one more thing too. and so on. And there's more rabbinical writings all over the place. I'll try one last thing here, and I'm going to call her quits. I think I've had enough. Oops, hold on. I better not mistype here.
Started at 25 minutes.
No.
Huh?
No. Deb, it's been for...
No, I'm saying
It's almost 2 hours.
No,
It's over an hour and 46 minutes already. We're losing our crowd now. Okay? Knock it off. Okay. David. Okay, David taking. And I'll read this. I'll put it right up here for you. I do want to point this one out. Okay, and this is just an AI overview. This is very simple, but it is in the Babylonian Talmud about 2 Samuel, chapters 11 and 12. Get out of here. According to the Talmud, King David did not commit adultery or intentionally murder Uriah. The sages in Tractate Shabbat 56:8 interpret the biblical narrative to mean that Uriah was guilty of rebelling against the king's orders, making him a legitimate target for execution, and Bathsheba was retroactively divorced from the time he left for battle. Customary divorce. The sages explained that it was an established practice for warriors in the house of David to issue conditional bills of divorce, get to their wives before heading to war, ensuring they wouldn't become chained women, which is agonat, if the husbands went missing. Bathsheba's status. Because Uriah had issued this customary writ, Bathsheba was legally divorced. Therefore, David's relations with her did not constitute adultery. Uriah's rebellion, according to the Talmud. Uriah committed a capital offense by refusing to obey King David's command to go home and sleep with his wife, by publicly defying the king's direct order. Uriah forfeited his rights legally, justifying David's actions. David's true sin. The sages conclude that David's actual misstep was not a moral failing in his personal life, but rather the failure of his outward appearance. He acted in a way that looked simple to the public, creating a profound desecration of his kingly status. Okay, you can explore this more. Now, let's go to 2 Samuel. We'll start with chapter 11. And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. And it came to pass in an evening tide that David rose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman, and one said, "Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite?" And David, so David knew that. And if he didn't, he did by then, at the very least, because they informed him. And David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. And the woman conceived and sent and told David and said, "I am with child." And David sent to Joab, saying, "Send me Uriah the Hittite." And Joab sent Uriah to David. And when Uriah was come unto him, David demanded of him how Joab did, and how the people did, and how the war prospered. And David sent to Uriah, and David said to Uriah, "Go down to thy house and wash thy feet." And Uriah departed out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord, and went not down to his house. And when they had told David, saying, Uriah went not down unto his house, David said unto Uriah, camest thou not from thy journey? Why then didst thou not go down unto thine house? And Uriah said unto David, the ark and Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Then I shall go into mine house to eat and to drink and lie with my wife. As thou livest, as thy soul liveth, I will not do this thing. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, he had more integrity, more dignity than what King David obviously had. And David said to Uriah, tarry here today also, and tomorrow I will let thee depart. So Uriah abode in Jerusalem that day and the morrow. And when David had called him, he did eat and drink before him, and he made him drunk, and he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his Lord, but went not down to his house. And it came to pass in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab and set it by the hand of Uriah. And he wrote in the letter, saying, set ye Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retire ye from him, that he may be smitten and die. And it came to pass, when Joab observed the city, that he assigned Uriah unto a place where he knew that valiant men were. And the men of the city went out and fought with Joab, and there fell some people of the servants of David, and Uriah the Hittite died also. Then Joab sent and told David all the things concerning the war, and charged the messenger, saying, when thou hast made an end of telling the matters of the war unto the king, and if so be that the king's wrath arise, and he say unto thee, wherefore approach ye so nigh unto the city when ye did fight? Know ye not that they would shoot from the wall? Who smote Abimelech the son of Jerubesheth? Did not a woman cast a piece of a millstone upon him from the wall, that he died in Sabbath? Why went ye nigh the wall, as in near the wall? Then see thou, thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. So the messenger went and came and showed David all that Joab had sent him for. And the messenger said unto David, surely the men prevailed against us, and came out unto us into the field, and we were upon them even unto the entering of the gate. And the shooters shot from off the wall upon thy servants, and some of the king's servants be dead, and thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. Then David said to the messenger, shalt thou say unto Joab, let not this thing displease thee, for the sword devoureth one as well as another. Make thy battle more strong against the city, and overthrow it, and encourage thou him. And when the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah her husband was dead, she mourned for her husband. And when the mourning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife, and bare a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord. All right, that's all 27 verses, but we're not done. I guess I am kind of doing a Bible reading here. Oh boy. All right, 31 verses. Now this is where Nathan the prophet is sent by God to confront David about this with a parable. And the Lord sent Nathan unto David, and he came unto him and said unto him, there were two men in one city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing save one little ewe lamb, which he bought and nourished up, and it grew up together with him and with his children. It did eat of his own meat and drink of his own cup, and lay in his bosom, and was unto him as a daughter. And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him, and took the poor man's lamb and dressed it for the man that was come unto him. And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man, and he said to Nathan, as the Lord liveth, the man that hath done this thing shall surely die, and he shall restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing, and because he had no pity. And Nathan said to David, thou art the man. Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hands of Saul. And I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. Wherefore hast thou despised the commandment of the Lord, to do evil in his sight? thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword. In other words, David was accessory at the very least to murder. That'd be a more accurate word in the English language than kill. And has taken his wife to be thy wife, and hast slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Okay, before going to verse 11, I just want to make this clear. This is totally opposite. King David had no moral right, no Torah right to do this to Uriah whatsoever. I also want to make it clear, I think, and this is speculation, I think Bathsheba was being coy at the very least. Hold on, folks. I said coy, Deb, and I meant it. Give me a minute, folks. All right. Verse 11, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with the wives in the sight of this son. Now that happened in David's lifetime with Absalom. Okay, for thou didst it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel and before the sun. Now you can relate this to the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, folks. It'll be shouted at the rooftops. You will reap what you sow. I'm talking the Gospels, and I'm also talking Paul with Galatians. And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said unto David, the Lord has also put away thy sin. Thou shalt not die. Howbeit, because by this deed thou hast given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child also that is born unto thee shall surely die. And Nathan departed unto his house, and the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife bare unto David, and it was very sick. David therefore besought God for the child, and David fasted and went in and lay all night upon the earth. And the elders of his house arose and went to him to raise him up from the earth, but he would not, neither did he eat bread with them. And it came to pass on the seventh day that the child died, and the servants of David feared to tell him that the child was dead, for they said, behold, while the child was yet alive, we spake unto David, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How will he then vex himself if we tell him that the child is dead? But when David saw that the servants whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. Therefore David said unto his servants, is the child dead? And they said, he is dead. Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and changed his apparel and came into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he came into his own house, and when he required, they set bread before him, and he did eat. Now, before I go into verse 21, I want to make it clear on a practice, because some atheists or some Gnostics, whatever, they have problems with this. Why did an innocent child have to suffer? Well, I don't know if he did. We don't know that. Maybe, obviously, he was sick, but maybe he was at peace. Maybe he was in great pain. We don't know. For sure, there's a lot of theological papers and philosophical viewpoints on this, folks. But think about it. You're talking 7 days compared to, let me think. David is approximately probably about 3,000 years ago. Okay, this infant, I'm sure somehow in his heavenly form. I mean, he was probably in that soulless sleep until Yeshua came, when he was crucified and that, and people rose up, prophets of old and that. And so he said 3,000 years, that's a very good exchange, and it'll be forever for him. And the reason why, I don't normally say that babies go to heaven or hell. That's not, but in this case, David, I have to take his word on it at face value and it'll read it in here. And what I mean is, he'll come and see, the baby can't see him again, but David can go and see him. But let's continue. Then said his servants unto him, what thing is this that thou hast done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child while it was alive, but when the child was dead, thou didst rise and eat bread. And he said, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept. For I said, who can tell whether God will be gracious to me that the child may live? But now he is dead. Wherefore should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. It's verse 23 that I'm going by here. And David comforted Bathsheba, his wife, and went unto her and lay with her, and she bare a son, and he called his name Solomon. And the Lord loved him. And he sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and called his name Jedidah, because of the Lord. And Joab fought against Rabbah of the children of Ammon, and he took the royal city. And Joab sent messengers to David and said, I have fought against Rabbah and have taken the city of waters. Go lie down, Goku. Now therefore gather the rest of the people together and encamp against the city and take it, lest I take the city and it be called after my name. And David gathered all the people together and went to Rabbah and fought against it and took it. And he took their king's crown from off his head, the weight whereof was the talent of gold with the precious stones, and it was set on David's head. And he brought forth the spoil of the great city in great abundance. And he brought forth the people that were therein and put them under saws and under harrows of iron and under axes of iron, and made them pass through the brick kiln. And thus did he unto all the cities of the children of Ammon. So David and all the people returned unto Jerusalem. And thus ends that reading. That is completely oppositional to the Torah, ladies and gentlemen. So that being said, yeah, I don't think any of us can there, Craig Hayden. You know, you're right on. Now I can see the chat again. But that being said, you know, back to my Jewish counterparts, I don't know how to word this without getting myself in trouble. But I will say this in all honesty. I want them to get Jesus Christ. And in that, doggone it. What is going on with this? Okay, it's my deal. Turn. Tur. Why is it doing this? It's really, my thing's been glitching here. I apologize for that. I can't. No, just turn the volume down. I can hear myself like I'm right beside me. And I don't think I'm a schizophrenic here. That being said, folks, I want them to get Yeshua. Some have. And they're paying a great price for it. They are taking a big risk. And I don't minimize that. That one Rabbi Zeb Porat, I give him a lot of respect and credit. I think I'm still subscribed to him. I don't watch him much. I have so many things to do, but when I do, you know, and he's a little dramatic. He gets into the histrionics and the antics, but he is an excellent witness for Yeshua. He is a rabbi, by the way. He has the training. He has the knowledge. He has the linguistics in that. Zeb Porat, that is, if you want to look him up. But an ongoing battle like that, I'll tell you what, he's a lot more patient than I ever could be. I wouldn't even try to claim that. Oh, you can tell by my sweat here, folks. You know, I don't know about Ben Shapiro. I know he's had the training. You know, I showed some of his stuff, and it just made me sick to watch him, figuratively speaking, you know, get on his callous knees to Donald John Trump. And just, oh, man. He ought to know better than that. I'd love to have a conversation with him, intellectual conversation. I don't know how well it would go. It depends on the subject. I know he's a very big conservative. I don't know if he's technically a Republican or not. I've watched a good amount of his stuff. I know in 2016 he didn't. I don't think he voted. He didn't want Clinton, or Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump at the time. He wasn't happy with either one of them. As time went on, he did vote 4 years later for Trump. I understand, but Trump was cheated out. But that being said, folks, he with his training, that's the part that I miss. I was adopted into a Norwegian Lutheran home, and some of it was crap, but really we had a good understanding of Jesus Christ. The Lutheran realm hadn't gone so haywire yet. 49 years ago, I received my first Bible from a now late pastor when I was 8 years old, and I started to read it. It was a New Revised Standard Version. Obviously at 8, I'm not going to understand why men were going to other nations with to do their wood and stone god worship. At 8 years old, at least back in my 8-year-old days, you didn't understand how the women played a role in that. I figured it out later, but my Jewish counterparts have been like this for a long time. And my dogs are, especially Ayla, is starting to whine. Please, I sincerely apologize. I need to take them outside. Just give me a couple minutes. Come on, Goku, let's go. Oh. Come on, where's your thing? Okay, good boy. All right, let's go. Come on. Come on, Ayla. Get you reweighed. Come on, girl. Good girl. Good girl. What's that part on your collar? Okay. Show you off to the candid camera pretty soon again. All right, Kakarot. Come on, buddy. Good boy. Good boy. You want to give me a hug? Okay. Good boy. All right, let's get you outside, buddy. All right, go buddy. Oh. Okay, even though that's very disruptive in a way, if there's one thing I've learned over the many years of dealing with thousands of dogs, pay attention when they're trying to tell you something. I've had to pay dearly when I didn't, and clean up a lot of messes. But to be so arrogant, as a lot of my Jewish counterparts are, and I think, and to be so dismissive like a lot of the Western Gentile-minded Christians are. There's even Messianic. There are Messianic congregational leaders and rabbis. They really advocate the oral laws. I think a lot, where I know, because I've experienced it, because I've had discussions and even a couple of arguments with them in the past, where they will cherry pick. Now, I'm not saying that the English translations are any of them are perfect. They're not. Some are better than others. But But that being said, you know, I mean, it's right in the Gospels. Why do you break the commandments of men, the traditions of the elders? Well, then why do you, you know, to Yeshua and his disciples? Well, why do you break the commandments of God? It's all in the Talmuds, folks, and more. There are a lot of modern day rabbis now, Orthodox rabbis, and modern day Pharisees is what I meant to say. And they're just, you know, they're making up their own deal too. And a lot of them are plagiarizing, which is fine. Look, I don't care about that. I'm nothing original. I mean, I've learned from others with the Holy Spirit guiding me and on an intellectual level. And I've learned stuff, reading other people's transcripts and their papers and dissertations, you know, and I've learned, okay, yeah, this is good. I want this, you know, and I agree. Or, nah, this is pretty stupid, silly, stupid. Or this is really satanic. This is really demonic. I no way am I going to agree with this. And I'm not just talking, you know, rabbinical writings here. I've done it with a lot of Christian commentary, a lot of so-called saints that were either sainted by the Roman Catholic Church and or by the Orthodox Christian Church, Russian or Eastern. You know, and it gets really slippery. You know, the banana slip is nothing compared to what I'm talking about. And, you know, these people think they have the authority to do it. And I mean, you know, just even on a practical level, who was that king in the Old Testament? I mean, he didn't even have a full heart. He didn't put his heart into it. When he did the verb actions, Israel did fine. Jerusalem, I think it was, the two tribes. I'd have to look again. I don't know. I'm normally really quick with that stuff. But he did, his people and him did fine. Yeah, I know that. It reads that in the Brit Hadashah. How you doing, John? Welcome and shalom. Give me a thumbs up, buddy. But that being said, folks, now once he screwed up and where he went, where his heart went, then it went all reformed very quickly. But even just the verb actions without the heart on a common sense or EQ level, people do these basic commandments, and screw the Noahide laws. They can go blow. I don't even need Jubilee 7, chapter 7, verse 20, which those 7 laws are way better than the Noahide. Again, I will always emphasize to you as far as that specific part is Exodus chapter 20 and Deuteronomy chapter 5. Okay. You follow those even without a heart. And I do recommend that you have your heart into it. But even if you don't, life should go pretty well with you for the most part. I mean, it does me. You know, and what's even better, probably what gets me a lot of crap is that I have Yeshua. I have Jesus, and that's fine. I expect that. That's you know, that's one of the many signs of the times. So, you know, my Jewish counterparts will blatantly lie to you. You are nothing but trash. I mean, when I used to have cattle, I treated it well. When they look at you as cattle and they look at me as a turncoat, idol worshiper, having no excuse, they just want me out, people like me out of the picture. Now, evidently, I'm not enough of a threat, or you know, maybe they can't find me. I'll be ready for them. Trust me, and we'll have some fun. But I just, you know, whether I win or lose in this life, it's not a big deal to me. But you know, just on a practical level, Exodus 20 that you're not supposed to read, that you're supposed to be physically stopped from reading, in Deuteronomy 5. Keep that in mind too. I mean, that's a violation right there. So anyway, I get attacked too, though, by the loosey-goosey, greasy-gracy, sloppy agape Christians. A lot of them have given me an awful lot of hate. God, I mean, oh man, it's insane. Now, it's been going pretty well this time around thus far, and I'd like to keep it that way. That's why I'm not responding. I don't even know if anybody's doing anything on me now. A a lot of those people that were, well, one's changed for the better. The other person kind of disappeared. And the other couple kind of disappeared, doing their own chasing Casper the Friendly Ghost or whatever they're doing. Now, back to my own part, when I delved into my heritage 13 years ago, and I was pretty knowledgeable by 4 years into it. And people were getting angry at me because I had a necklace on a lot of the times with my readings. And when I was doing things with Pesach and that and Sukkot, I had a necklace with the pentagram, the current star for the star for the current state of Israel. And all I was doing was trying to be an example, a better, to try and convert, help be a part of, and not being used as an object for Elohim to have my Jewish counterparts convert. I got over that real quick. I mean, what some of the good constructive criticism that some of you people gave me, I took to heart, and it's like, no, I really shouldn't be wearing this. I know what it stands for. What's wrong with me? This is compromising. So I quit it. And that. Now I still, and I don't know if we'll ever get it back. Deb and I are thinking about letting that one storage space go. Let it be auctioned off. One of the many things I have in that storage space in another state is my Levitical garb, and I do want to. I want to keep it, but if I have to, eventually get another one, I have no problems with that. But some of that stuff, the videos I was showing you, it gives me memories and stuff what I've done in the past. When I say I delved into it and learned it quick, I did just that. I don't have the childhood experience of it. I was adopted. Thank God. I think I'd be, out of the rabbis that I mentioned, like, Shmuley Boteach is the most intelligent, not necessarily out of all of them, but I'll tell you what, he's pretty up there, and he makes Tovia Singer look like an amateur. And if I would have been raised in that stuff, I'm sure I would make him and definitely Tovia Singer look like panty waists, and I would be against Yeshua. Now I'm speculating. I don't know. Maybe I would have gotten the word anyway. Elohim put me in with that adopted family to learn about Jesus Christ from a Lutheran perspective at that time, and I'm grateful for that. I still went through a lot of defiant periods of my life. I had a lot of problems. I gave myself a lot of problems. Some were given to me. I caused a lot of grief to other people, but in the end of the day, and I was a Christian back then, searching, and I went and did my thing, and I still studied very hard even back then. I used to, and I was a part of a Sunday going, very conservative evangelical church up in Duluth, Minnesota in my 20s, and I was they're one of the many branches, I guess, from the 1950s that broke off from one of the Methodist branches or sects. And I kind of know some of the history, but they were good for me at that time. It did me a lot of good. I remember my adopted parents, and they had a church service with me when Dad and Mom came up in their RV, and Dad sung loud. He was good at it because he was a part of the choir in the Lutheran church at that time. And we had good experience. I got to meet my pastor, and they're about the same age bracket. So they had a lot to talk about. And there was a lot of good godly things that happened. And then later down the road into my 30s, even though I was doing a lot of stupid things, I was still searching, folks. And for a while, I was a part of that branch called the Christian Outreach Fellowship. And then I went to another one, and I don't know what branch they're in, but, so I still was doing some basic Sunday going, solid Bible believing churches. And I always knew, I remember having a discussion with that one pastor, not of the COF, but of the other one. And I said, reading the Bible, I still have no problem coming here on Sundays. Because I understood it on an intellectual level, but I was still getting there yet. I had a lot. What was I, 32 back then? So I had basically another 12 years to go before I went over to the Sabbath keeping realm yet. And oh wow, that is a miracle. No offense or pun intended there, Craig. But you have quite a story too, don't you, brother? Aki. Anyway, well, I was talking with the pastor of that one church, and I said, I'm cool with that, but I don't see anything in the Bible where it goes to Sunday. And wasn't there this guy named Constantine that supposedly did that, and he did it like 300 years or so after Jesus's birth and death. And he said it too. He said, well, yeah, we probably could and should do that. Problem is trying to get most people to do it. Good luck. And that was kind of where the conversation ended. He made a good point, but so I was seeking, and eventually when I was at the Firestone Library, one of the number of libraries in Akron, Ohio, I was doing some Christian research, and I clicked into one of those YouTube squares with this crazy looking guy, and it happened to be Michael Rood. Say what you will about him. I give the man credit. And I knew the Bible more than well enough by then, whether he would be full of what, or if there'd be a lot of truth to it. And I found a lot of truth to it. And of course, I was using Google, and I was looking at books. It's a library, and I went to other libraries, and that's how it kind of went. And after 13 years ago, when I was doing that, and I found a Messianic congregation as well as going to another Sunday church there in Akron, I found a congregation to go to called Beth Tikkun. And very good, loving, accepting people. Okay. Especially if you're going to love and accept me. Yeah, that must really mean something. But that being said, and then it took me, like I said, 10 and a half months, and I went, weaned off of pork. And so, and anything else, shrimp, you name it. And I've been eating according to Leviticus 11 - Deuteronomy 14 ever since, for over 12 years. That I don't really have a lot more to say, folks. It's been, over 2 hours and about 23 minutes now. Just think, if I wouldn't have lost anything in that computer glitch, we'd still be going. Maybe Yah did that for a reason. All right. It's pretty much getting to be too long already, because now I'm just kind of giving a witness, a testimony, but it's not just the Christian realm that we need to be leery of. Okay. You have all those televangelists that are full of crap. You have even smaller churches where people are doing their thing, and they're so contrary to the scriptures. And sometimes I laugh, though, because in my own realm, Christians, well, hey, you're a Judaizer. Dude or dudette, you don't even begin to know what a Judaizer is. You don't. You are speaking purely, unadulteratedly out of ignorance. Because my Jewish counterparts up here intellectually are so out of your league, have you so beat to where when you have a lot of you Christians wanting to learn oral law, Messianic rabbis learning and practicing oral law, what Yeshua railed on for in the Gospels, it's pretty obvious to me. Now, back to the English translations, I didn't really finish with that. None of them are perfect to my knowledge. There are some really good ones. King James Bible, New King James, and I'm talking the 1982 New King James. I don't know about the 2011 revised New King James. I haven't looked at that. I can't give an opinion. New American Standard Bible from 1977 and 1995. You can use the English Standard Version, the UK, or the American in a pinch. I don't really overly recommend it. I don't recommend the New International Version. The New Translation Version, I would try to avoid that too, but if that's all you have, do it. But, all of you who are watching, listening to me live and pre-recorded, you have access to hundreds to maybe thousands of English translations right online anyway, for free, as long as you pay your internet bill. Yeah. American Standard Bible is pretty good. The first one I received in the Lutheran Church at 8 years old, New Revised Standard Version. The revised version of what, 1882? Both the Old and New Testament. I know what's going on with those two jokers but it's still a pretty good translation. You can learn a lot from there. Maybe stick a lot with the the King James 1977 New American Standard Bible, the American Standard Version, my 2009, either the 1998 Institute for Scripture Research or the 2009 revised ISR. Hallelujah scriptures are good. But either way, I mean, folks, get on your knees, get prostrate if you need to, pray about it, and ask the Ruach to guide you before you start reading. And then when you're done, humbly thank him for giving you the awesome privilege and obligated duty and responsibility of learning his truth. And he can fill in the gaps of the translational errors. For whatever reasons, Elohim has not given us a perfect version on this earth that I know of. If you think you know, definitely let me know and I'll try to take a look at it. But I just thought, I think I've talked enough. It's been almost 2.5 hours, and I really appreciate all of you. And I do appreciate you sticking with me for so long. This is probably the longest live stream I've done this time around. And I am going to continue to harp on my Jewish counterparts and tell you how to be aware of them, because make no mistake, they are out of the league, out of these. They're way above even the theological cemeteries. There's no matching them. And if you don't have Yeshua, if you don't have the Ruach HaKodesh to guide you, man, you're going to be in big trouble with this. I mean, so, folks, you take care. You keep your heads on your swivels. You stay safe out there. Stay on guard. Ask Elohim what he wants you to do for him. Peace. Shalom. The Levite man is out of here until the next time. Later.